Time for the Zeitgeist, your trends tested with a man who is wearing a shirt and chinos for the first time that I'm aware of since we met up at Wimbledon 8 years ago, Ollie Peart.
You were very, very explicit about the dress code at this event.
Yes.
You said you cannot overdress for this event.
That's right, this is the smartest you go.
You will feel, if you turn up in jeans,
if you ever get invited to the Buckingham Palace garden party, you are fucked.
Yeah.
If this is the best you've got. But you look good.
Because I don't just have a suit at my disposal. I feel like every man should have that.
Every man totally should have a suit at his disposal.
But I don't.
Not one.
No, I used to, but then I got a bit fatter.
Yeah. I know the feeling. That's why I'm wearing the Marks and Spencers off the peg at the moment.
Well, it doesn't fit me anymore. But I don't know the first thing about buying suits, so I wouldn't even know where to start. And I don't want to just go to Next and buy something. Okay. I feel like my age won't want something better.
Someone please write in with this as a challenge for Ollie, because he needs to get a suit tailored. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd take that challenge.
Okay,
yeah.
Send us a challenge for Ollie to get a suit tailored on a future edition.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, where we are is to discuss a different challenge, which is to find about the current vogue for classic cars.
Yes.
And I have actually brought you to a thing. I brought you to a thing that I go to on an annual basis. Because I'm that sort of sophisticated gent with a suit at my disposal.
He does have that.
We are at the Concours of Elegance at Hampton Court Palace. I mean, it's a turn up for the books, isn't it? Last month we were talking about how to have fun on a summer holiday without spending any money. Here we are at an event where the average person walking around probably has about 20 million in the bank.
Yes. I've seen multiple cars worth in excess of £10 million.
How the other half live.
Absolutely.
But I'm familiar with it because regular Man fans might remember my late father was kind of a big deal in the world of vintage Bentleys. And I say this in the context of all these cars worth so much money. Worth saying, he worked his way up from being a butcher. And not all car events are like this. You get people with all sorts of income brackets, don't you, who are into classic cars, as we'll talk about in a minute. But he ended up working in a field where a lot of the cars are worth, six-figure sums, seven-figure sums in some cases. And you do get events like this, where you get celebrities, royalty. And this is the creme de la creme, really. This event is where people bring the cars that are rare, i.e. expensive. So we've come to have a look around whilst we're talking about classic cars today. I mean, what have you seen?
Well, I've seen, actually, one of the things that really stood out is a Ferrari 250 GT California Spider. That's the full name. I think I just have heard about this car just over the years, and I've never seen one in person. And I saw it, and I was like, I recognise that car. I know that car. It's a very, very expensive car. I have a feeling Chris Evans owns one, but I don't know. I don't know if it is his.
He's one of the people I'm referring to.
Yes.
So like your dead cert celebs you always see at this, right?
Yeah.
Chris Evans, Rowan Atkinson, Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, Brian Johnson from AC/DC, Prince Michael of Kent. That's your dead cert first five.
Yeah.
Then you might get a bit of JK from Jamiroquai.
Oh yes, didn't think he was a Ferrari man, wasn't he?
Yeah, you might get who's the guy who's in the Minecraft movie, the American Momoa? Is that his name?
Jason
Momoa. There you go.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, he's into classic cars.
Oh right, is he?
So that's who you see kind of wandering around. And I mean, it's worth saying, and the cars are stunning, aren't they? They are beautiful. I'm not particularly into cars, but it is a pony show, isn't it? They're all polished. You get the sense most of them probably don't drive very far.
Oh no, they probably do 10 miles a year. I mean, there's the other one that I saw. I was like, I immediately recognised that car. Is Jody Scheckter's six-wheeled Formula One car from like the 1970s.
You did notice that immediately.
I was
impressed by the knowledge.
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough to interview him. He's an interesting guy, but it's iconic. I mean, how many F1 cars have got six wheels on? None.
Yeah, well, so what's the deal with that? I mean, how come he was allowed to race with it?
It was to do with like additional traction or something, whatever.
But you can't just stick an extra wheel. Surely there's like
it was the 70s. You could do what you want.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could. I mean, they were
You're
smoking.
You're going to die tomorrow. Whatever.
They were smoking while building it. But one of the things that I think will stand out if you haven't been to a car show for many, many years and you are of like our age, is you might see one or two cars and go, hang on a minute, what?
What's that doing here?
What is that doing here?
Yes. Which feeds in nicely to the challenge you were set, actually. So just as a recap, man fan Bryce in Australia, who is in his 40s and a classic car enthusiast, wanted to challenge you to find out whether there is an equivalent trend over here in Britain for younger people even than him, people in their 20s, getting into classic car culture. He says, is it a trend in the UK? Is it driven by the UK's ULEZ policy? We'll get onto that in a minute. But yes, people in their 20s, I guess, are more likely to be able to afford something a bit newer.
Yeah, it's interesting because when this question was sort of posed, particularly like sort of, are younger people getting into classic cars, I was like, well, hang on a minute, that has always been a thing. Like I used to have a 1981 VW T25 camper van.
Is that just because that was your first vehicle?
No,
You never
my
traded it
my
out?
first vehicle was a Fiat Uno, which would be a classic, like a modern
Yes.
classic now. It was a
Mine
1991 Fiat Uno.
Totally was. I mean, I've just said my dad was a classic car dealer, so of course my first car was a classic car. But I mean, it was a classic shit car. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was an Austin Metro. It was a 1986 Austin Metro
There you
in
go,
lime
classic.
green.
Oh, yeah.
With brown seats. Those kind of seats that were like sofa seats from the royal family, like that.
I think it's fair to say sick, bruv. Like that is.
I loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is, of course, I had to drive down the motorway to school, and on like day 3, a pebble fell off a bridge, and the whole thing fell apart.
See, but that's classic car ownership, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, Pip had a Mini, original Mini. Pip's my partner. And friends had Beetles, all this kind of stuff. So I was a bit like, well, there's always kind of been a thing.
People have always liked,
Always
always dig to the old stuff.
Yeah, and because you used to be able to get them relatively cheap and you could kind of tinker with them and that kind of thing. But it turns out, yes, in short, there are a growing number of people in their 20s and 30s that are getting into classic cars.
But am I right that that's the newer? Because like you were indicating, you walk around here, there's like Peugeot 205s and stuff, and
There's
Golf
a
GTIs.
Peugeot 205 GTI. That was the one that I was thinking about because our next door neighbour had one of those opposite, and now there's a version here which has been restored to exactly how it would have been when it came out the factory, and it is absolutely stunning. But at the time, you know, when that car was 10 years old, you'd be like, that's a bad old piece of crap.
Yes.
You know, like you just wouldn't
And
have thought it was nice.
boxy. So this is what I find interesting. So these are 80s cars, right? Basically,
I think that was a 90
early 90s, maybe. Okay, yeah. But like in the mid 90s, in the sort of new Labour era, you'd look back at those cars from 10 years earlier, and you'd think, oh, this is boxy and shit, like all cars were in the 80s. That's why cars are better now. But you look back at the design of the ones that have stood the test of time now, and they're really cool. Like in a way that didn't seem obvious. It wasn't obvious that would be a design.
No, you
classic.
felt like they were really dated,
yeah.
and cars became a slightly more curvy and sort of like sporty looking, and that kind of boxy style wasn't necessarily considered sporty as we started getting into those 2010 era. Whereas now that's sort of come back around. It makes you wonder. I mean, I'm looking at a Bentley GT Continental, I think that is. Number plate looks like it says wanker.
Yes, it does. Yes,
But
it's
that-
WA64KER.
Yeah,
optometry
exactly.
test
Yeah.
from over here. Yeah.
But that to me looks like that doesn't look like a classic to me. But it may well be that in another 20 years' time, that it's like.
I mean,
sort of-
that is horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but we're thinking that now. But I might have said that about you know,
But
one
also,
of those boxy cars back
I mean,
in the
this is
day.
the thing about the value of these. So, like, to me, that's a horrible car. But the fact that it's in the Concours, it means it is worth a load of money, and I don't know why. I don't know why that one is. It just looks like any other Bentley from 10 years ago.
I reckon it was Colleen Rooney's.
It's that sort of thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? Nobody will be. It'll be
Yeah.
like it belonged to Elton John, and it was the last one they made, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it'll be that.
Yeah.
But like, you wouldn't. That's the extraordinary thing about walking around this particular car. You go to lots of classic car shows. Everyone's got local classic car shows.
Yeah, yeah.
And you might get a car there that's worth 6 figures, but most of them will be, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. But here, they're all worth millions.
Yeah.
And it's not obvious what the difference is.
No, and I suppose actually that sort of brings us round into these. You know, the younger people getting into these classic cars. Obviously, they're not buying those the cars that are in those figures, and it's also important at this point, I think. And we can talk about the ULEZ thing here, because when we're talking about a classic car, if you're talking about a classic in the way that you know, you're tax exempt. We're talking about cars that are 40 years plus. It's, you know, your car has to be registered before the 1st of January 1985 for it to be considered a classic.
Oh, good fact.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And you also have to make sure that it's on that classic car register for your tax class, right? So you have to register it as a historic car, which you would do anyway because it makes it tax exempt. But only then are you exempt from ULEZ. The cars that people...
Let's just explain for international listeners who don't know, like Bryce, what ULEZ is, because it's a London thing.
It's a London thing. There are sort of versions of it being discussed in other cities, I think.
It stands for low emission, ultra
low emissions, yeah. The idea is that they're sort of slamming charges on cars that have excessive emissions to reduce pollution in the city.
But classic cars are exempt from it.
In particular, is it NO2, nitrous oxide, I think is the right one. And classic cars over 40 years old are exempt. So if your car's made before 1973, automatically exempt, that's fine. But anything sort of before that, up to 1985, you'd have to just make sure it's on that classic car tax classification.
So theoretically, you could, if you worked in London, drive to work every day in a car from 1985 and not pay ULEZ, but you're still paying congestion charge, I presume.
Oh, yeah.
And you still got to park the thing.
Yeah, and this is the thing.
And you still got to afford a classic car. So no, that won't be the reason.
No, and they're definitely not doing that, because also the classic cars that they're buying are nothing like that. They're buying what you would consider modern classics. So these are like 90s cars, and the cars that they are going for are hot hatches and performance cars, right? There's some research that's been done recently by a classic car insurer called Haggerty, and they've literally released a new insurance product in the last couple of weeks for drivers in their 20s who have classic cars, for this very reason, because there's been such a rise in the number of younger people buying these cars. But the caveat in that insurance policy is that you have to have another car. It can't be your main driving car. You can only do like 5,000 miles a year. So these are enthusiasts. They're not buying this as an alternative commuter car. They might be driving them a little bit more because newer classics are a little bit more reliable, but they're not doing it to get around ULEZ. That's just not a thing. That's just not happening.
But it's also the cost of actually, if you do have an accident or something goes wrong. You know, I mean, it's all very well being insured, but everything costs more because it's old. And so, yes, it's a hobby, isn't it? And it's fun. But if it is anything close to being a daily run-around car, it's an absolute pain.
I think there'll be a lot of people that disagree with you. If you buy even a sort of a newish second-hand car, you could probably pick up a half-decent one. Well, you can. I know this because I'm looking for one at the moment. You can pick up a half-decent second-hand car for about 10 grand, right? And you could get it on a hire purchase thing. But it's going to cost you a couple of £100 a month. With a classic car, likely if you're younger, you might be able to buy that outright. You might be able to, stump up a couple of grand to buy a bit of a ratty old classic.
Yes, but then the headlight blows, and what do you do?
Yes, I know, but if you think, versus £200-300 a month, it still works out cheaper over the year.
Okay, yes.
You still have to pay tax on it. But I get what you mean. You've still got your fuel consumption, that kind of thing. I wouldn't recommend buying an old classic as a reliable second-hand car, but you could do it. The cars that they are going for are these hot hatches and performance cars, and I kind of wanted to get to the bottom of that. So I reached out to a friend of mine who I know is like really, really into his classic cars. He's actually got a Ford Mexico, Escort Mexico. I've driven this car, beautiful, and it's a rear-wheel drive, and it's like low profile, and he does drifting in it. I don't know if you heard of this, but you can skid the car out backwards, and he spends thousands on it a year, and he absolutely loves it. And he said, when he goes to the car shows, the younger people that he speaks to, because he's in his 40s, but the younger people that he speaks to, they're going for rear-wheel drive cars. You cannot get affordably a new rear-wheel drive car. You just can't get them. And kids love to skid, right? That's basically what they like to do. Kids love skids. So they'll go out and they'll opt for something like an MX-5. They're really popular. They try and find an MX-5. The other ones that he said were really sought after were, basically anything with a GTI in the title.
But hold on, but then we're drifting into boy racer territory, aren't we?
Literally drifting, yeah.
Yes. So then, I mean, and of course there's always been a crossover. You know, your 19-year-old boy racer might grow into your 35-year-old Jaguar buyer at one of these events. But they're slightly separate things, aren't they? Like, boy racers is about showing off the sound of the engine and doing it as cheaply as possible and showing off to your friends what you've souped up. Whereas restoring a classic car is a labour of love, isn't it?
But what they are doing, and like he's done, he has restored his Mexico. It's original, it's authentic, but also lowered it, put new suspension on it, and made it so it can drift. So it's not the same as sort of having your old Renault 5 and putting LED lights at the bottom and making it shine and driving around the local Tesco car park. It's not quite the same as that. Younger kids are still trying to make them have that kind of authenticity that made them great when they were new, but they can also get hold of a rear-wheel drive car that they can't now. Like, if you want that, you're going to have to get a high-end BMW, and they're just prohibitively expensive for young people.
What's interesting as well, walking around here, there's a brand here called Kingsley, which I think I'd read about in GQ or something a while ago. Very sort of Guy Ritchie type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Pop down Hawksmoor, have your steak, and then drive off in one of these.
Oh, yeah.
And what they seem to do is restore old Land Rovers from the 80s and some Range Rovers as well. But what's interesting is they're restoring them authentically from the outside. So they've got exactly the box shape that you'd expect from a 1985 Range Rover. But inside, they've pimped it up. They've put in like tartan leather, like even on the gear stick and the brake, the handbrake. And they've put CarPlay on the dashboard and modern air conditioning inside. I don't know if they do electric ones as well, but obviously that's where it's going. I feel like the younger classic car enthusiast wants the best of both worlds. They don't want their granddad's car, really. They don't want to restore it to how it was. They want it to look how it was from the outside and then have all the bells and whistles inside.
And actually, just walking around here, saw quite a few groups of young lads like looking into those cars that you were just talking about and seeing that it's got Apple AirPlay and just be like, whoa, look at the interior, and literally hearing them go, oh, that's sick. You know, like that's...
I can listen to The Rest is Politics in here.
It is interesting, that sort of crossover, and I think those cars, particularly those Range Rovers, I know a little bit about those. That old shape Range Rover was notoriously unreliable. The engines were unreliable, the chassis was unreliable, they're prone to rust, all this kind of stuff, which is why they always end up on a farm and absolutely battered to pieces. So it makes sense, if you like that classic shape, to go, right, well, I'm going to strip it out, I'm going to put all new fittings inside, so the thing is reliable and I can drive it about. It's actually been something that's been around for quite a long time. They used to do it with like old air-cooled VW campers and Beetles, where they used to put Porsche engines.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be at a show like this, would they? They wouldn't be accepted into the fraternity of people
No,
that
they
restore
wouldn't,
cars
but
authentically.
they're their own dedicated culture, that's why.
Yeah, but here they are. So I'm just saying that's the shift, isn't it?
Right.
I could be wrong, but having been to classic car shows since I was 4 years old with my dad and always being not particularly interested but absorbing a lot about it, thinking the cars were pretty but seeing what's going on, I feel like in 1987, if you'd have come to an event, and this didn't exist then, but an event like this, there was one in Kensington Palace Gardens, and said, I'm taking a 1950s Mercedes, ripping everything out and replacing it with a mobile phone charger for your new Vodafone brick thing that you've got. People would not have said that was an authentic restoration. It wouldn't be part of the crowd. But now it seems like that's what your younger classic car consumer sort of wants.
But actually, the way that they've done that, they have tried to keep it very authentic. And I could imagine someone stepping out in their Hunter Wellies with a black Labrador, in a shotgun. So
I suppose the difference is, I just came up with an example from the 1950s because I was imagining the 1980s, 30-year-old car, similar thing. I suppose the difference now is that the production lines are so vast. Actually, there were so many hundreds of thousands of those Land Rovers made in the first place that it's not the same, is it, as when you take a vintage Bentley from 1929 where there's only a limited number of them. They only ever made so many hundred. So each one has value just for being one of those.
Yeah.
So you want it to look like one of those because it's a piece of history.
Yeah.
I suppose you've got so many donor parts you can just kind of piss about.
Yeah, exactly that. And there is an element of affordability there. I think the other thing for younger people, so when I was chatting to Joe, he said, look, I asked him about the sort of the investment side of things. I'm like, you bought your car, you spent thousands. Are you going to make money? Are you going to sell it? And he's like, well, I don't really want to sell it, but my car now is worth 4 times as much as I bought it for.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's tax-free too, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you sell a classic car, you don't pay tax on the, what's it called, the difference with the capital gains. There's no capital gains tax.
Oh, right. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. One of the things he did say, I said, but cars depreciate. And he goes, well, hang on. Yes, cars do depreciate when you buy them new. They'll go right down, but then they'll reach their price. And that's when you've got to kind of seek out the classic. And he said, if you are thinking about investing, try and get a 3-door. Never buy a 4-door or 5-door.
Well, that must be the rarity thing then.
And it's a style thing too.
Because
and he
was
saying,
compact.
yeah, and the younger guys, so if you don't have much money and you want a classic, go for a 4-door because you'll be able to afford it. You won't be able to afford the 3-door. There'll be much more. Cost you a lot more money. But they're more likely to be worth more money in the future as well. So that's a sort of top tip. Go for a 3-door rather than a 4-door.
And also, I suppose, be aware that as you get older, other people of your generation will also get older, so there is a chance that it will be worth less and go out of fashion. So, like, if you bought a DeLorean 15 years ago, when everyone who loved Back to the Future was too young to afford their own DeLorean, you'd be making it in now, wouldn't you? Because everyone who loves Back to the Future is in their 40s and 50s.
Oh, yeah, you'd be laughing all the way to the bank.
And would be buying it as a classic car that they want.
Absolutely.
Even though it's quantifiably a shit car.
Yeah.
That's maybe a bad example because that is a classic film. Probably in 30 years' time, it will still be worth something because my kids like Back to the Future. But you know what I mean. There are things that come along, they're fashionable, and then actually, in 30 years' time, that was it. That was the peak. No one wants it anymore because that's what old men wanted because they liked Back to the Future.
Yeah. And the other one, which you should have a little look out for, is a Mark I Micra.
A Nissan Micra?
Nissan Micra, exactly.
From the 80s?
Yeah.
Before they went curvy?
Well, yeah, exactly. The square shape, those kinds of things seem to be really attractive, particularly for younger crowds.
My second car after the Austin Metro was a Nissan Micra, but it was the second generation one when it had gone curvy.
Yeah.
Before they put the funky grille on it, I had one of them. It lasted, it was indestructible. I mean, it lasted for like 30 years. At the end, I just gave it to someone because it wasn't worth anything, but it was still running.
Really?
Mine had a dent in the roof from when I had to wait for my friend to make a report in a police station for 6 hours, and I sat on the roof and sunbathed, and I broke it. And I never fixed it, and then every time it rained, it would rain on me in the car because it would come in through the sunroof.
Yeah, my Uno used to leak water into the footwell, and in the winter it used to freeze, and I used to skid, my feet would skid trying to put my foot on the brakes.
Would you like to know what your challenge for next month is?
Yeah.
It's actually also going to be fun, I think.
Is it get a new suit?
It's from me. It's not, but someone should challenge you to do that.
Yes, please do.
No, it's actually not a challenge from a listener. It's from me.
Oh, God.
And the reason I'm breaking with format and putting a challenge to you myself is because Man fans may have observed, if you're very keenly eyed, October 2025, i.e. next month, is the 10th anniversary of this here podcast.
You were waiting for a reaction.
I was waiting for some sort of...
No.
I mean, I know you know that.
Yes, but my reaction was speechless.
Yes, yeah.
Because I can't believe that.
Stunned awe.
Stunned silence.
At the masterpiece we've created.
Wow.
The archive that we are bequeathing to the world.
How we've come on. God. Jeez.
So, we're not the type of show to wallow in our own brilliance.
Yep.
Also, we have the Christmas episode 2 months later, and that's full of that. But we did think we should mark our 10th anniversary in some way.
Oh, yeah, it's important.
So, producer Matt and I have decided, Ollie Peart, for your 10th anniversary Zeitgeist next month, to design for us the ultimate modern birthday party.
Ooh.
Not a 10th birthday party, we're not children. Forget the 10. What we're interested in is what are the trends that people who are on the Zeitgeist would do for their birthday party.
I'm worried about this one.
Why?
I am terrible at events organising.
Right.
I organised my brother's stag do.
Mm.
It was a disaster. It was awful.
What happened?
We ended up going to Latvia
Okay.
in March. We were going for a heat wave here.
Yeah.
I turned up in shorts and t-shirt. It was snowing out the fucking window. And I cannot.
Yeah.
I honestly, it's a genuine concern of mine.
Right, yeah.
But,
So I can see you're actually anxious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could ask listeners, I suppose.
Yeah,
Anyone
okay.
out there wants to help Ollie, this is a great opportunity if you... I mean, we're going to be in London for the day. So if you're in, York or Edinburgh, sorry, this probably won't work for you.
Mm.
But if you happen to work for a business in London or you run a cool cafe or restaurant, you're doing something novel, you've got a new cocktail to try, you have a new party game, a new experience... what's that thing we did where we created your own mystery thing? What's that called?
The escape rooms.
The escape rooms.
Yeah.
I'm looking for... That was 2019 or something we did that, right?
Long time ago.
What is the escape room of 2025?
Yeah,
What's the cool thing to do at a birthday party?
Laser Quest.
Alex, Holly and I and producer Matt want to try it for our 10th birthday. We're going to put together a menu. I want you to put together a menu of things we can do.
A menu of
that
things?
are novel.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's celebratory.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also, actually, as a promotional opportunity for anyone listening who does run a business like that, obviously we're just ahead of the Christmas season, aren't we? Lots of people go out and try these things at Christmas time with their office. So if you're doing something fun like that, let us have a go.
Yeah. Please do get in touch.
Feedback form on our website, modernman.co.uk. And any other challenge for Ollie, ask him to try a suit. You can submit there as well. In a moment, you will meet Priscilla. She's a courtroom artist. It's a fascinating world. But first, it's time for our record of the month. And it's this from Ipswich-born rapper Piers James. It is his new single, Foe, or Form of Expression. It's out now.